if you want to be successful as a brand, I think the one thing you've got to do right is add superior value for whoever you target.
That will be tasted by the people. Are you saying what you're saying on the whatever they put in the commercial or any social media?
How we communicate and all that. I mean, fundamentally, as a business, you got to look at it from the hyperlocal context and address it.
But then it's up to the consumer to decide if you can stay, right? If it's not really better than anything else, and it's hard to fight. So if you have a superior proposition and you do your homework and you start fresh, I think that's what I would do.
Hello guys, I'm thrilled to have this session. Actually, it's about branding and design. I am always attracted to this area, and we have Matt from Square 44. His work is amazing. We're going to learn a lot from him, and we have also Yunus from Naik Kreatif from Sama Indonesia, and we have Mark from BLWN, Malaysia. So these three guys actually design guru, and they represent their own company. They are the founders of their own company. So the first one is actually, what is one principle that you guys hold in brand and design development?
I think it's always about the user, right?
About the user.
If you want to be successful as a brand, I think the one thing you've got to do right is add superior value for whoever you target. If you forget that, and it's unfortunate, but a lot of brands forget that, they're just pushing products as much as we can, manufacture we do, it doesn't work, it doesn't stick. So as long as you deliver superior value, you got to understand your market, you got to understand your consumer, who you're up against. That's, I think, the key thing.
Yep. It's always about the consumer first. Yeah. How about you, Yunus?
Yeah, I think from my experience, I think authenticity is very important.
Authenticity?
Yeah.
Okay.
The brand has to be really memorable, simple for people to understand. And of course, there is an element that need to be considered about the brand promise. Yeah, the branding promise. So yeah, that will be tasted by the people. Are you saying what you're saying on the whatever they put in the commercial or any social media? And then I think that's the most important value.
Correct. Consumer authenticity. And what about you, Mark?
I think it's my experience is more of being able to relate to the audience. So every brand has a product service, right?
Yep.
And most people need to be able to kind of, how do people see it? And in a way, it's an extension from what Matt said, right? Like seeing it from the user point of view. Because if you can't get the message across of what your brand or product or service represents, you will fail to connect. So if you fail to connect, no matter how nice the statement is, no matter how it is, it won't be able to get interest, it will be able to get attention. I think people get attracted to what is relevant to them. So I think being able to connect that and being relevant, to how it applies to them, that's going to get, to me, that's the fundamental building blocks of what the brand should be. And then everything kind of sort of works around that. Yeah. That is how I feel about it.
Got it. I agree with the consumer first, because last time a client briefed us, so this is my consumer, he said. Then we do our own research, right? Then give them the data. Actually, your customer is only not this. The main customer is there. So then, luckily, the client is kind of like be open-minded. And okay, then let's do both of this messaging. And actually, it works. And this new consumer segment that we found out is actually a better engagement. Yeah. So actually, apart from that, can you give some example where localization or hyperlocal make the brand stronger?
I think anytime you do it, it's going to help the brand. I think when you forget to do it, I have some anecdotes, right? There's a chewing gum brand from the UK, global brand. And in the UK, everything is sugar-free. So they make it colorful because you want to express flavor and taste and stuff like that. They come to Asia and they have one brand in the market that is sugar, and then they want to launch the new sugar-free one. But in Asia, in our market, everything was sugar-based. So they come with their colorful packs, and the consumer cannot identify this as a sugar-free pack. Should have made it white for Asia. So that's where they didn't localize it, worked against them. I think another example is, I hope nobody gets angry with me, but Nescafe.
Okay.
Big coffee brand, right? it's handled globally. Vevey, Switzerland, cold weather. So the brand equity element is a big steaming hot red cup for years. Doesn't work in Asia. In Vietnam, we're doing a localization and people drink iced coffee, don't drink hot coffee. So to get an iced coffee on the pack instead of a equity red cup, big fight. And it takes a lot of time to get it approved. Luckily, we had a maverick marketing person that says, screw it, we'll launch as a limited edition. And that outperformed all the other 3-in-1 packs. And that became a discussion to go back to Verve and say, do you want me to sell? Or do you want me to force global equity? And you've got to be sensitive for that. I think you can never go wrong with localization. You should do it as much as you can.
Agree. What about you, Yunus?
Yeah, I have an experience. This brand is in F&B. Yeah, so this brand came from Asia, but it's a global brand. They came to Jakarta and they have this flavor that inherited since 1973.
Oh my goodness, okay.
Yeah. So how do we communicate that since 1973 to people in Jakarta, right? With different...
it's not even born.
Yeah, me too. And then they have different flavor. They have different ingredients. They flew everything from the country, right? And then we have to tailor all the message, make it easier for Jakarta people. Even in Jakarta, not Jakarta people, South Jakarta people have their own way of their understanding of the communication, right? So we have to tailor everything locally. And yeah, it works that after we do that for a couple of months, and then we launch them in the 3 malls in Jakarta, and people in Jakarta accepting this brand, and now they're growing stronger.
Got it. How about you, Mark?
Yeah, so I think well, taking it further, right? The thing about localization, it is that I know it's a brand podcast, but it's more than just the brand, right? I think fundamentally it talks about the business structure. So one clear example that we had in Malaysia, right, was when Uber came to Malaysia, and now there's no more Uber in Malaysia, right? They're out of it. Grab is obviously the dominant one. So really what happened there is a key play on localization, because I think where Uber first started, back in Europe, so they were using credit cards. And in Malaysia, they came in and they tried to do the same thing, right? Obviously from security and all that. But in Malaysia, the market, people still prefer using cash.
Okay.
Right? It's just simple, right? Fundamental payment gateway thing, right? So Uber didn't budge and Grab came in and they knew the local markets very well. They knew that, Malaysians, we need cash. So they launched the app and, almost immediately, right, kind of killed the competition. So it's not even talking about how we communicate and all that. I mean, fundamentally, as a business, you got to look at it from the hyper-local context and address it.
Yeah.
And I think that is a clear demarcation of how important it is, really. It's not, of course, by that virtue of then knowing how it works, then everything flows down into marketing and branding and so forth. Yeah, that's pretty much how I think about it.
That's interesting. Actually, but let's say you guys have an experience to launch a brand from scratch, right? What are the principles that you guys want to introduce to the clients?
I think the benefit of starting fresh is you don't have baggage from the past, right? So if you are tapping into a market, I would look at what competitors are out there and what baggage are they struggling with, because it's unlikely they'll let it go. So you can design it for today, what the consumer wants today. And as a brand, I think one thing you got to do is you got to stay relevant. Every day there's new consumers making buy decisions and there's new people, new generations coming in, like your Gen Zs, your Alphas, whatever generation it is. And brands in Asia especially struggle with staying relevant. There's a lot of big family business owned brands and the business is running. Why should we touch anything that wins?
Got it.
Right? But they become dated and slowly lose track of the market. And before you know it, you're irrelevant. And it's like, I don't know, when I was young, we had Nokia phones.
Yeah, correct.
And it was the market leader, right? There was no other phone. And overnight, that iPhone came in. We don't need internet on the phone. Well, people kind of want it. So you've got to stay in line with consumers. So the one thing I think, again, comes down to the first question. If I create a brand from scratch, it is understanding the superior value that you want to bring somewhere. What is your right to win? And that's always when we do a brief for the client, I don't want to just deliver a nice design. We want to deliver something that sells, that outperforms. So always the question is, what's the right to win? And sometimes they're struggling to find the answers. Like, it's kind of the same product. It's the same. If there's nothing, you can create a story. But then it's up to the consumer to decide if you can stay, right? If it's not really better than anything else, then it's hard to fight. So if you have a superior proposition and you do your homework and you start fresh, I think that's what I would do.
Okay, good point. How about you, Yunus?
Yeah, I think if you want to build a brand from scratch, I think it's gonna be good if we build a master framework for the brand itself, the standardization for Asia level or globalization, but also we need to have the localization framework. So it's the localization framework brand is the system that we can use to be flexible. How do we want to communicate to targeted audience? Because nowadays we can see that in social media we can have a lot of languages, right? And a lot of many people from all over the world, even Indonesia have so many people that talk in different languages, right? So we have to be flexible to do that in order to deliver the message of the brand. Yeah, and then to also to for people to understand and to capture the brand easily. Yeah.
Got it. And you, Mark?
Yeah. So, well, for us, we've received a lot of these kinds of questions from our clients, potential clients, right? And a lot of them have their businesses and say, hey, a lot of them have these fancy slides. Oh, we're doing this, very complicated languages, very bombastic words. And usually, how I kind of go in is, and I ask them, so what problem are you trying to solve? And you got to be able to answer that very clearly, because if we can't be clear on what value your company or you guys are doing, then how do we build a messaging around it, right? It can't be just, I'm here just to ride the trends. Then you don't need a brand because it won't last. A lot of brands do this, right? Like, I think, like in Malaysia in particular, right? Like when there was this bubble milk tea hype going on, every corner there'll be this bubble milk tea, right? And you look at them and they're popping up just because it's a trend. But the reality is that you've got all these costs being involved. You get the rental, you get your brand, and you put money in it, right? And then now they're all dead. Most of them are dead, right? It's clawed back, right? And now the next thing I'm looking at is like pickleball, right? In Malaysia is everywhere.
Okay.
Everything is converting to pickleball courts. I think the pickleball court will stay, but the question I have in my head is, it overhyped, right? So again, that is a fundamental part of it that I would ask my clients, basically, what problem are you trying to solve? And then from there, we'll figure out how do you keep it to be simple? How do you make that long statement? How do you simplify it so that it's something that people can understand? And then we build everything around that. So that's where I would probably start off when it comes to a new brand.
Correct. Actually, when I talk to some clients, right, they have their research as well.
Yeah.
And then this pickleball is becoming a phenomena. In Indonesia, is still on pedal, not pickle yet.
Wow.
But according to the research, right, that actually Gen Z and Gen Alpha, they change interests every 3 to 6 months. So that's the challenge, right? So actually, we can set, this is our solution to the consumer, but will it last? Yeah, to answer that, how about your approach to consumer research, Matt?
The question is how to interpret research and changes.
Yeah.
I think I'm in branding design, right? So for me, there's a degree of consistency, but I think people pegged into consistency too strong. Because like you say, the attention span is getting shorter and shorter and shorter. We swipe, we have less attention. And I think what you want to have is extreme flexibility, but a degree of consistency. So there needs to be a kind of signature look if we design a brand. And there needs to then be a lot of flexibility. So if you do a limited edition, you can push it in a different way. If you do some retail execution, some digital, some out of home, you can change the look, but it needs to have a signature language. And I think the secret is your kind of key brand, all kind of elements that keep your brand alive. If you know Coca-Cola, if you know Heineken, the big brands get it really well. Yeah. It's the contour bottle, the red color, the typography, the kind of shapes that they use in the label. And even if you change Coca-Cola and you put your name there, because the typography, it's locked in your brain. So that is the thing you keep consistent, but then you can do anything with it what you want. You don't even need to show the logo, and you have variety. And I think that's what the consumer wants. It's the fun. It's got to be entertaining. Brands have to be fun. It's got to be, enjoyable.
Yeah. Good point.
Yeah, I think the other thing that need to be considered is in element of branding, we have to consider about experience. Because I think the Gen Z now, they want to experience the brand in a way of that they want to be involved with the brand. They want to be create something for the brand. So this need to be flexible and openness for the brand to open activity or experience for the audience to see the feedback as well. Are the people or the audience, are they engaging with the brands or not? Yeah, they can do campaign and then ask them to do something, maybe create something, illustration or drawing something, or maybe create a video AI about the brand, anything, and then they can win something for the Gen Z. Yeah, they love to be involved.
Got it.
Yeah.
Your take on consumer research?
I think for me, we don't use that much big data in our agency, right? But for us, what we compensate is with really just going to the ground and having a good idea of how people behave, how they are. Like, again, if you go back to the pickleball court example, right? If someone were to come into and ask, is pickleball popular in Malaysia? Then for sure,
Yeah.
you know, who is going for it? And we know that people play pickleball, yes, but sure, some would say it's for, to exercise, but
Yeah.
more often than not, really, it's for the style. It's a lifestyle,
Yeah,
isn't it?
correct.
Like, like we see people going there looking nice and mascara, eyeliners, and everything. Like, okay, that's interesting, right? Because if this is badminton, you don't see that there.
Yeah.
Everyone just, so it is these small things that we feel the value for us in, as an agency, the market research lies, right? It is being able to see what's beyond the desktop and really being able to go on the ground. And I guess in some extension, it would be form of localization.
Yep.
Because I'm sure every country or even every state or so forth would have their own type. So for us, we really have that. Of course, generally we do a basic desktop research. We are very much known in terms of what the trend is and all that, but we always validate that with ground experience.
Yep.
And at the end of the day, right, we're marketing to people. We are people. So we essentially, to some degree, we are a target market. So if we are well injected into society and all, then you can kind of have a pulse of the truthfulness, right? Because sometimes when you just look at things from a desktop or you do deep research, the more data you have, sometimes the more confused you can get, right?
Yes,
and
true.
just because it's right on paper does not necessarily mean it's going to be right when you execute it. Because at the end of the day, it is people, it's emotions, it's more than just the facts.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's how we take it on.
Good. Well, actually, if let's say for the better future, for the more beautiful destination, right? If there's any particular advice that you want to give to your client, what will it be, Matt?
Yeah, it's what you say, right? Make it fun.
Make it fun.
It's emotion. It's got to be fun. The worst thing that is happening to us is Netflix and everything becomes the same, right? The Kardashian effect. If you see every reality TV show follows the same template, the same script. If you go to different countries now, the cultural differences are disappearing. So have fun with localization to kind of offset that. I like to go to Japan and have a Kit Kat matcha. And I don't need to have that everywhere in the world, right? Durian matcha in Malaysia maybe, and whatever works, right? Make it fun and do what people like. That's the best thing I would.
Wow, that's very insightful. You, Yunus?
Yeah, I strongly believe in I should just make it fun and maybe make it easy.
Yeah.
Not too complicated for people. Yeah, and then I think the challenges is between the old generation to the younger generation from their side. Yeah, because the old generation will stick on the principle, the culture of the company, but for the younger generation is, they want to have fun. Yeah, they want to experiment something new, right? So yeah, they have to be really flexible, fun, and easy, and very easy to engage. Yeah.
Got it. You, Mark?
Yeah, so I think generally it comes to kind of how do you maintain that balance or that advice I would give, right? I think in the context of, let's just think of a big brand is trying to come into Malaysia and all that. And the key would always be how much do we kind of change things? How much do we adapt it into a certain country, right? And fundamentally, the principle would be that you maintain your brand value, but you have a local twist to it, right? So some clients, they come to us, like, oh, we want to really go into Malaysia, you want to change everything and all that. But it won't work because I think, especially in today's generation, people do see, they relate to values. and they do like to see what kind of values you portray, right? I think it's not just branding per se, even employment, you talk about it, right? People join companies, it's not about, oh, how much is the salary? If you do know that, it's about what do they have the same values as the company, right? They join things because of values, right? So likewise, a company has to be very firm on their values. They can't lie about it, right? Because nowadays, the Gen Z, even the young generation, we can research it. So you have to be true and then kind of just adjust it a little bit into the local context things, right? So balancing that out. You cannot not, and the danger is that you cannot ignore it. You have to have it, but you have to balance out so there's not the point that it's a whole scheme behind it, right? Or, because people can check it out. So really having that fine line between it, that's the key to kind of balance it out.
Okay, thank you guys. Actually, it's a very insightful session. I like it very much. I mean, branding and design will be the first one that get into the consumer's mind. Actually, then if it's relevant, it's authentic, it's also consumer centric, it will catch your consumers' hearts. Thank you very much, Matt, Yunus, and also Mark. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.